As I walked down the same street almost every day for the last 23 years, stopped at the same coffee shop almost every day for the last six, and ordered the same drink I had each of these days, I marveled at how routine my day was. I nodded to the woman who always walked her dogs at the same time. I went out for coffee as her smallest dog peed on the same tree it always did. I smiled and waved to the little girl I had watched trade her stroller for a bicycle a few years earlier, and gave 50 cents to the homeless guy who always stands on the corner singing love songs. As I entered the little cafe on the north side of the street, not at all startled by the bell on the door, the heavily tattooed girl behind the counter smiled and turned to get my medium coffee with room for milk. I took it from her with the same smile and nod I had given the woman with the dogs and the little girl on the bike, dropping my change into her tip jar. At the few tables that were mostly college students, reading books, typing furiously on laptops, I sighed nostalgically for a time when I had as much purpose in my day. I was still going through the same motions, had my routine down to the minute, but the pieces of it in which I used to actually get things done were missing. Now I just floated from place to place, smiling at strangers. Acknowledging this, I shuddered as if I felt the draft. Though there were none, my routine had seemed comforting when I was in school, when my stagnancy was a requirement of progress, but now there was no goal being worked towards, no purpose being served. I was a college graduate with no prospects, living at home. I had no excuses to keep me from going into the world, but I wasn't doing it. I left the coffee shop and walked straight to my bench in the park, only peripherally aware of the few minutes it took to get there. The transition from traffic noises was as familiar and taken for granted as the transition from inhale to exhale. As I sat down, I took the lid off my coffee so that it was cool, putting the cup down on the bench to my left and taking a magazine out of my bag. The old lady was always in park, watching the leaves move in the breeze, smiled in the way that she scrunched her nose and waved rapidly in my direction. I waved back and smiled, the same smile reserved for the dog walker, the little girl, and the coffee shop girl. I wondered how many years old the lady had been coming to the park, sitting on the same bench every day. I looked at her stooped shoulders and her shriveled hands in a neat little pile on her lap, and wondered how long I could be doing the same thing every day. I was filled with the urge to suddenly jump up and break the pattern, but all I could really master was moving my coffee to my other side and switching which leg was crossed over. Exhaling sharply like a cat had been inadvertently kicked in the middle of the night. I looked up at the sun slanting through the branches of the trees, stopping to think for a moment about what a gorgeous day it was. That just made my agitation worse, because it meant that it was all me. I couldn't blame my frustration on anything external. No rain clouds threatening in the distance. It was a perfect day, complete with golden sunshine and a gentle breeze, but I felt like I was going to explode. I could almost hear the high pitched whistle of a teapot in my ears. I got up and threw out my coffee and walked out of the park. I imagined the old lady was shocked by my sudden departure, but I didn't turn back to see for sure. I kept my eyes on the sidewalk as I retraced my steps, hoping to avoid any more gratuitous exchanges of neighborly pleasantries. When I walked into the apartment, my 5-year-old sister ran up and gave me a hug, telling me about the adventures that she and her dolls had had that day, like she always did. My mother looked up from the table and then back at her watch, raising an eyebrow. She had much less of a routine than I did, but had still noticed that mine was off, heightening my anxiety. I didn't explain. I accepted the pipe cleaner ring my sister had made for me graciously as I could manage. The ring was actually kind of pretty in a costume jewelry kind of way. I went into my room and threw my sweatshirt over the back of the chair, noticing with irritation that it seemed to fall in exactly the same position it was earlier that morning. I counted the money in the box on my dresser, and I noted that the fact that since I hadn't done anything with myself had managed to save a pretty decent amount of money, I figured that almost 2,000 should be enough for tickets somewhere and room and board long enough to find a new job. But where? I'd always wanted to move to Amsterdam, but visas took more than I felt I had. I worried that if I took time to plan, I might lose my motivation. After all, I hadn't realized it until the afternoon, and it was that easy to suddenly see it might be just as easy to lose sight of, a fact that terrified me. After about an hour of pacing and straightening books on the shelf and kicking shoes into place, I settled on San Francisco. It was the most obvious promised land, the place to strive for, home for the fresh and shiny new life. I even considered reading on the road while on my way there, but decided it was pushing the cliche farther than I was willing. Instead, I grabbed East of Eden, also about ending up in California. I went through the rest of my day and evening in a sort of trance, tingling with excitement, but so determined and focused that I had sort of a tunnel vision. I was surprised by how little my mother objected. She seemed to understand that I had to go, but I also that suspected she didn't believe I would stay away. My sister, on the other hand, did object. Her pout was so exaggerated I almost laughed while explaining that I loved her very much and would be back to visit, and that she could visit me whenever she wanted. I also promised that I would wear my pretty ring she made so I could keep her with me while I was away. That seemed to work a little, and she skipped away back to her satisfying life. I found a plane ticket online for 2 weeks away, figuring that would be long enough to say goodbye to my friends and figure out where I would stay when I got there, but not long enough to relax back into my routine. I spent the next 2 weeks saying, I don't know, I just have to get out of here and do something, to everyone I knew. They all shook their heads, some disbelieving, some impressed, some jealous, and some disapproving. But they were all surprised. Apparently, all of my friends had been aware of how regimented my life was, and had seen the rut I was too deeply in to see for myself. However, almost all of them insisted they didn't consider it a rut. I found a reasonably priced youth hostel near Golden Gate Park and was having a great time discovering the city. I went along walks every day, exploring and looking for a job. But when I first walked down the tree-lined street, the hostel was on, and to a nice little coffee shop I had discovered on my second day in town. On my 10th day in San Francisco, I went in and I ordered a medium coffee with room for milk. I smiled at the guy behind the counter who was beginning to recognize me. I threw some coins in his tip jar and walked 2 blocks to the park, heading straight for the tree I had taken to sitting under. As I settled myself into a protruding root, I took the lid of my coffee and set it down on the other root to my left. I took out a magazine and settled in to read and sip my coffee. As I waved to the girl who had been in the park every day for the past week, who smiled at me when she saw I was sitting in the same spot again, I froze. I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it happening. Laughing a little, I looked around wondering if anyone else got the joke. Clearly, no one else did. I began thinking of Dorothy, who had run all over Oz when she really needed to just wake up and see that she had the power to fix her own problems. I walked into the hostel, shaking my head and wondering whether I was going to find an interesting career project or whatever would make routine comforting again in San Francisco or anywhere. Knowing that it didn't really matter, I of course ended up going back home, much to my sister's delight. The lady with the dogs, the girl with the table, the girl at the coffee shop, and the old lady in the park asked me where I'd been, and I told them all, animatedly, that the search for myself had brought me right back to the street I grew up on. So again, you're going to want to be looking at the theme, thinking about, you're going to be asked to go to specific places in the text and look for textual evidence. And you're going to want to make sure you can support your own answers. So you have to be able to find a piece in the text to support your answers. So I suggest following the tips from the reading advice that you got from either the video or the document, okay? Make sure that you read carefully. Try to avoid skimming.